Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the Dash-Cast. My name is Curtis Dash, and joined with me, as always, is Mr. Brandon Colongo. Brandon, say hello.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
So we've got a very interesting show for y'all. This is I think Brandon teased this a little bit last week. This is a pretty good idea. We're gonna do our playoff brackets. There is a lot of stuff to talk about, sports related, which is strange when there is really no sports going on right now. So, oh, I guess if you count NASCAR or golf, but and Tiger wasn't doing great today. He did great yesterday, but again, it's golf. Who cares? Um, Focus on the NFL here. Very first thing I want to address is whatever's going on in Washington. All this stuff that came out, it's unacceptable. I'm sorry that any person, any woman has to go through that, especially in the sports world where it is primarily dominated by men. It's bullshit. I wish people were better. That's all I'll say about that. We'll jump into our playoff brackets here. Brandon, why don't we start in the AFC? Start in the AFC. Who you got? Who you got coming out of the East?
Yeah. So we could do it that way for sure. It's this was a really tough one because the AFC, I felt like I was pulling hairs at the end, trying to get everyone in here, and I don't know. I feel like the bottom half of it is so up for grabs, and the top half is kind of so solidified. So I like Buffalo, Baltimore, Texans, Kansas City.
Okay. Ooh. I don't see, and I don't disagree with any of that. I literally have the exact same four that coming out of there. I believe who did you have with the one seed? I think the Chiefs,
On the one seed, yeah, I have the Kansas City.
and so they're getting the bye for sure, right?
Oh yeah, but I have the Ravens coming out and winning it all, at
So
least in that division, and then, of course, till they run into Tampa Bay.
I know. At least I have to give you credit. You are sticking to your guns. I think the very interesting thing about my bottom stuff for the AFC is when it comes to the wild cards, there is just so much. Like you said, it's definitely. I almost feel like I'm grasping at straws for a couple of these teams. I feel like
Yeah.
the top four is just so much better than the bottom three. Whether that's true or not, obviously we'll see. But I have the Pats at five, Steelers at six, and Colts
Mm.
at seven. I don't have a clue what the Texans are doing. And I like Deshaun Watson. I think there's rumors going around that he's about to sign like a mega deal, get like 40 million a year. If I'm him, I get the f out, just out. I can't, Bill O'Brien getting away, Hopkins, who apparently wanted out according to him, and then Hopkins said he didn't. Blah blah blah. And we'll talk about Hopkins, I'm sure, here on the other side of this stuff going on too. Who
Yeah,
are your bottom three?
I'd be cool with that for sure. Yeah. So for the bottom three, we got Titans, Steelers, Raiders,
Okay.
and yeah, I was grasping at straws too. I was like, well, what about Miami and the Browns? I don't feel like are out of it by any stretch. I think Baker
Oh,
could come
they'll
back and have
ruin
a
it.
good year.
It's Cleveland. Everybody knows how I feel about
True that.
Cleveland. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody who's listened to this podcast or knows me at all. I really just do not like the city of Cleveland. I don't know why. Well, I could think of many, many reasons, but their 0-16 football team is one that I absolutely love. Uh, yeah, I feel like the bottom three when it comes to like the Pats. Now, I want to put a big asterisk or a disclaimer here. This is assuming Cam Newton is healthy. If not, the Pats are not winning 5 games. If Cam Newton comes out and breaks his arm or I don't know, rolls an ankle, knock on wood. I don't want that to happen. I want every player to be healthy because you want to beat the teams at their best. I feel like the Pats actually have a pretty good chance to continue to be annoying and be in the playoffs, and then I have to listen to Pats fans for the rest of my life. But the Chiefs is the easy number one pick. Now, I agree. I don't have them winning the Super Bowl. I don't even have them going to the Super Bowl. I actually have them losing to the Titans. Um, it's because I think the Super Bowl hangover thing is real. After Green Bay won the Super Bowl, granted this was a decade ago, but after Green Bay won the Super Bowl, I think we go 15-1 that next season, first round bye, lose in the first round of the playoffs. And we talked about resting starters
Wow.
and things like that before. So I believe rust or the hangover is real, and that's not saying that Kansas City isn't stacked. I mean, how often can we talk about Kansas City without everybody knowing they're
Yeah,
just
but it's
ridiculous?
yeah, you're right. It's hard to repeat though.
It's a lot of games, and football is a very demanding sport. Um,
So
your
you
off
got
seasons are shorter. I mean, now
so
COVID
you
kind of.
got the Titans going out of it.
I do. I am a huge fan of Derrick Henry. It has nothing to do with Tannehill. I think Tannehill is there to quite literally just hand the ball, kind of a Garoppolo situation. And I think Henry will have an even bigger season now. Speaking of Henry, he did sign a 4-year extension, 50 mil. It's like 24, 25.5 guaranteed, and I believe the rest of it's almost front loaded, so it's basically like a 2-year deal. So maybe they'll restructure or they'll do something else. Um, but yeah, I think the Titans are definitely going to beat the Chiefs, and might. I mean, honestly, they were close to beating them last year.
So that's very interesting. You have like the running back making a comeback. I feel like in today's day and age, I tend to err in picking a lot of my picks based off who's playing quarterback.
Wholeheartedly, and rightfully so. I mean, in what situation have you really been wrong there? You haven't. Betting against Mahomes is probably not the smartest move I've done. But I'm stubborn and maybe a little bit stupid, but stubborn. So, and then I've got the Ravens and the Bills. I I don't think the Bills have a chance. Um, Disclaimer there, I'm biased and I hate Bills Mafia. I loathe them. So maybe that's definitely talking to it, but there's nothing that's saying the Ravens defense and the Lamar Jackson on the offense isn't going to just have a great year again. Maybe see some more tape on him and he might slow down a little bit, but he is coming off one of the best regular seasons I've seen in a long time.
I like their matchup against Kansas City. I like the way that I think Baltimore's defense is fast enough to where like the burners don't make as much of an impact as they could against other teams, and Lamar is just as electrifying as Mahomes, and so they're just and they run the football too, which keeps the ball out of Mahomes' hands. I really like that matchup for Baltimore.
So and I believe you just said you've got Baltimore going at least to the big game, correct?
That's correct.
All right, and obviously we know your side on the NFC for who's gonna face the Ravens. Well, let's talk a little bit about the other teams that are gonna be in there when it comes to that. I feel like picking the NFC was only difficult because one division, and that's the NFC East. The NFC East always just seems to be up in the air, and I feel like nobody even wants to win that division. I I really feel like that. I mean, the Eagles were broken in half by the time they got into the playoffs. They had like 17 missed starters, or I don't remember the exact number. That's probably a little bit of an exaggeration, but they had so many starters missed, and they were still there. And McCown played with the torn ACL, and they still almost won that game. So if Wentz is healthy the entire season, and that has been a big if. Knock on wood that he isn't for Eagles fans' sake, even though I'm not a big fan of their fans either. I just it's hard to not pick the Eagles, but the Cowboys on paper to me are the team that win that division. And Ezekiel Elliott's playing with a chip on his shoulder. Dak will probably want to prove himself to get some big money because he's going to play on that franchise tender. So how are you
Mm-hmm.
thinking about that? Does any of that make sense, or am I full of shit?
Of course, yeah, I mean, makes sense. Yeah, I mean, for the NFC East, I got the Cowboys, and I have them winning it, but not by like a long shot or any stretch of the imagination. I think the Eagles are right there in terms of they have a very good roster. Their quarterback is good. I know don't always give him like the most credit, but he's definitely solid. He's played well. He just needs to really finish off a season, or at least finish off like maybe lose in the playoffs, or just have some type of a game where he just finish the whole season. Like I just kind of want to see a whole season from him. I
Agreed.
would say for the North, I am on your side today. I got Green
What?
Bay.
That's a first.
No,
Kidding.
no. And then NFC South easy Tampa, and NFC West Seattle.
See, I have the Niners still winning the West, And I think I've been letting you get into my brain a little bit because I really started to second guess myself when I was filling this out last night because I'm like,
Didn't you
well,
just call Russell Wilson the most feared quarterback?
I'm afraid of him, but it doesn't mean he's going to win the game. If I think he's got the ball with 40 seconds to go or something and they only got 40 yards to go, I am extremely frightened. There's, and that's just my own personal terror that I've experienced as a Green Bay Packer fan. Um, I just feel like the Niners are still stacked now. They still do have a little bit of personnel issue, right, with Mostert wanting a trade, and so we'll see what happens there. But I mean, they still have Kittle, best tight end in the game, best blocking tight end in the game, great hands, loves to just he wants to punch you in the mouth, and I'm okay with that. Um, Unfortunately, well, for Justin, if he happens to be listening at some point, I don't really have them doing much after that because the rest of the NFC is fairly stacked with Drew Brees and the Saints, of course. I have them winning that division, and I have the Bucks coming in at a wild card, but that does not mean I don't have the Bucks in my top four. They'll definitely, they're definitely going to get into the top four. There's no chance, and if they don't, it is because of a catastrophic injury or just the worst
Yeah.
coaching or in a perfect world, and you're going to hate this, Brady throws 155 interceptions and never plays again.
Wow.
I'm just so tired of Brady. He's caused so much grief for all of my betting purposes, and I can't forgive him. Does that make me a petty human being? Absolutely.
Well,
Am I
that's
going
your
to change my
problem.
mind? No.
You're betting against Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm. And you would now, to be fair, I have learned my lesson in the recent past, but he did kind of screw me over when I bet on him last season. Not his fault,
But
obviously.
we got to go back to San Francisco though. You think that the hangover doesn't affect their hangover prone or their hangover proof? They can't be affected by it.
I would assume I think they can, but there's nothing that's telling me that Garoppolo won't have a better season. As much as I'm not as high on him as 49er fans, and on I think we had him in the same spot in our no, I don't even think you had him in the top 15, but
Uh, I
and
don't think so.
I had him sitting at number 9, and I'm thinking he can make a jump. This Seattle really doesn't have that many weapons. They have Russell Wilson. Their defense is certainly not what it used to be, and so I think it's not so much as the hangover won't affect them as the rest of that division isn't as deadly as they used to be. Now that being said, I do have the Cards, our dark horse, which we both agree on, making the playoffs. I just don't think they're gonna get anywhere. I could be wrong. Um, I I just don't feel that the Niners will be in as much of a dogfight as I don't know how to word that correctly, but I think you understand what I mean, more or less.
Okay. Yeah, we can move on to my bottom three is going to be the Saints, Eagles, Cardinals.
Yeah, I am all. I mean, we both have the only one we disagree on there is just where the Bucks are going to land. Um,
Right.
because obviously whoever wins that division will, somebody's going to have to win that division. It's going to be one of those two teams. You can flip a coin and convince me 100% that the Bucks are going to win the division. You can flip a coin and convince me that the Saints are going to win the division. And it's not to say that I'm flip floppy. It's so much as I think both teams are really good.
Well, so exactly, and the thing is, I trust the Saints in the regular season to do good. What I don't trust them is in the postseason. So
Well, so why wouldn't you
they
have them
can.
win in the division in the regular season, though?
Well, because I think Tampa's better, and so I
Hmm.
still think Tampa's going to be good in the regular season too. I'm I'm more likely to give the Saints a close game during the season than I am to give them a close game during the postseason.
I would definitely agree with that. Absolutely. Um, Obviously they haven't really been postseason greats, and oh god, when did they win their
But
Super
I
Bowl? Like oh
right, but
06?
I still it's been a while. It's been a long while. 1 year after Rogers.
Mm, 2012. Wow, I'm way off. Or 2011,
but
2012 season.
yeah, nevertheless, it's I still think Tampa's better and they're the favorites, so that's why I have them winning the division.
I mean, they're stacked as offensively as a stacked uh, Saints team. Michael Thomas, though, is still
And
better than either receiver on than either of them. on the
But
Bucks.
but here's the thing, their defense is underrated because Jameis Winston was turning the ball over in bad spots and just turning the ball over too much in general.
True.
Their defense is better than anyone is giving them credit. Well, not everyone, but then a lot of people are giving them credit for.
Well, and to be fair, when you do have that quarterback turning over the ball 30 times in a season bare minimum, and yeah, your defense is out there playing more, they've got more minutes on their legs. It's the same kind of thing with the basketball. When you play a player so many minutes, he's gonna get tired. And that definitely
Yeah,
happens in the NFL where they have to go 100% every play. There's no plays off.
they ran Hargraves out of town because he was getting targeted so much, poor guy.
And
And then he of course had to go to Texas. Is like, no,
yeah, he
don't make
is
me cheer
hanging in
against
your
him
division.
or play
um,
against him for that matter.
all right, so let's talk about maybe not Super Bowl matchup, but coming out of the top four, getting into the top two. Who do you have in the NFC Championship?
Yeah, so surprisingly enough, I have Tampa, and I also have the Saints.
All right. There's nothing wrong with that because those are probably two, if not the 1 and 2 seeds. If they could be, like, they're easily two of the best teams in the league in general, let alone the NFC. So I can't, you can't fault that. Now I do have the Bucks in the NFC Championship game, of course, and that again has to do with the postseason issues that the Saints have shown in the recent past. There's no reason to believe that all of a sudden they're going to figure it out, or there's no reason to believe they're going to finally get a call. There's not. There's no evidence that points to it. Um, Unfortunately for you and my bias, I have the Packers there because I can't pick against Aaron Rodgers. And here's why. Aaron Rodgers ticked off because we all know about he who must not be named. And then Aaron Jones, who was snubbed last year out of a Pro Bowl, for the record, which blows my mind, led the league in touchdowns. This is a contract year. They drafted his backup as well in the second round. Chip on his shoulder. The guy has no sense in slowing down. And I know, to your point, you brought up a really good point about picking running backs, and I guess I kind of did that with my Titans pick too, which I guess isn't necessarily the greatest of picks when it comes to how the game is kind of played now. But having Aaron Rodgers, to me, and a pissed off Aaron Rodgers at that, let's go. Not to say that Brady isn't playing with something on his shoulder, because Brady wants to prove it, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so funny because it's like I never would have pictured that championship game, that Super Bowl game.
And I do think that will be in Lambeau because I don't have the Bucks winning the division. Now, if it is in Tampa, that's very interesting. Because if the Bucks win that division or something like that, there's nothing to say they just don't sit at home the entire time and just roll people. Um, I, and that would be there is a matchup between the Bucks and the Packers, and I think it's in Tampa. It's like week 9 or 8. It might be a little bit earlier, but so that will kind of be a little bit of a preview to maybe stifle whatever prediction I may or may not have. Um, but how do you feel about that matchup versus the matchup against the Saints? You think you're just going to steamroll Green Bay, if I had to assume?
I mean, no, I mean the playoffs are the playoffs. There are gonna be some gut checks in there, but you know, I trust that Tom Brady is gonna be in the right. He just always kind of finds a way.
Yeah. I mean, he he is the goat. He is the goat. Like even the biased, Green Bay Packer fan here has to accept it. Um, Recording this podcast in Michigan as well, I think probably has something a little bit to do with it. But
And I would say in terms of teams that could ruin, I guess, my NFC Championship game, I would say Seahawks are very close number two to meet Tampa.
oh, I definitely, yeah, see, and which kind of hurts my Niners thing. It's not that man, it's so hard to pick against Russell because now you keep mentioning it, and I'm starting to get just. I feel like he's listening to the podcast. I feel like he's listening to my recording, and he's like circling that date, and he's like, "All right, Curtis, here we go." And then he'll point at the camera and go, "I told you so." Like I
Yes,
am that afraid.
he'll mouth it to the camera.
I think I'd cry. Well, hey, I gotta acknowledge that's cool, but I think I'd cry, honestly, especially if it's against Green Bay and something like 2014 happens again. That might be it. I wanted to cry that
Yeah.
night too. I probably did, honestly. I had a lot to drink that night after that game, to my credit. Um, I feel like the Tampa Bay and Green Bay is a really good matchup, and the reason I can kind of talk myself into Green Bay winning that game, and I am talking myself into Green Bay going to the Super Bowl there because I just can't pick against them. We were a game away from the Super Bowl, right? The counter argument to that would be we were a game away from the Super Bowl and did nothing to improve. I mean, we did sign Devin Funches. Whoopee. I don't. So many people are excited about that.
Well, I think also San Fran was like a bad matchup for you.
Oh,
I
they've been
think
a bad matchup for the past couple of years too. Go ahead, go ahead.
they crushed you guys basically like every time
20
they
to
played you guys.
37 or something like that,
Yeah, yeah, like during the season
and
too, even.
37 to 8 in the regular season.
Yeah. So they were, I mean, obviously just a bad matchup in general, and I think Green Bay sometimes struggles when they have unique ways of running the football.
Yeah,
Like
our
they
run
struggled
defense
against
is
Colin Kaepernick big
so strange.
back in the day. I remember that game. Yikes.
Uh, you know, I've had to deal with running quarterbacks destroying Green Bay at Lambeau for a long time. And granted, this was at the San Fran the last time, but I remember Michael Vick running all over Green Bay. It was the first loss in the postseason at Lambeau in Green Bay history. So I'm definitely afraid of any kind of running. But you would think that kind of pattern would allude to a better defensive stance and that we would learn from our mistakes. Obviously, you can argue we haven't. Um, but this is the Smith brothers' second year on the team. They're only going to get better. So I'm not
Yeah, there's
sure.
not.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, if San Fran doesn't even make the playoffs, like I have in my prediction, you'll be in a good spot because then they won't have to run into them.
I don't fear the Saints like I fear running
No,
into a running game like
San
and
Fran.
yes,
You don't fear San Fran.
no, like I fear the running game of San Fran. I fear San Fran a little bit. I have no reason not to. They've demolished me for years, like I said, but I don't fear the Saints. Like I'm saying, if the Niners don't make the playoffs, like you're predicting,
Well, yeah,
uh,
because I feel like Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers have very similar. Don't take this the wrong way; it's going to sound a little harsh. I think they've had very similar like lack of postseason success.
ooh, do I have some numbers for you?
One
Some very
Super Bowl
interesting
each.
numbers. And Aaron Rodgers' 8 playoff losses, I think we've given up a statistical average of like 38.7 points. In what country is that Aaron Rodgers' fault? The Aaron Rodgers slander, and I've argued so much about this on Twitter, and I think I posted something on Facebook because I was so salty about it. The Aaron Rodgers slander that he's costing us games, or that it's not his fault, or it's like his fault
I'm
that
not
we're not
saying he's
winning.
costing you games.
Maybe not you, but just kind of in general.
I would say that I just haven't I haven't seen him be as much of a closer as obviously Tom Brady. It's not really fair to compare him to Tom Brady, but I don't even know like against the Eagles. You might remember this game where I can't remember he missed like a wide open receiver and ended up
Yeah,
remember that you remember what play I'm talking about? It was
I
like right at the
do.
end of the game. He missed a wide open receiver. He kind of does that when I watch him, and so
Well,
I
then
don't know. I
quit
just
watching
think
him.
like I think as much as you can. It's not that easy down. It's not that easy down here. And not like I go out of my way to watch him in particular. Nothing against it's just not like the games are on that often. So, but anyways, he yeah, I just kind of see those types of mistakes even in games in the season, postseason in general, and I just think he could be like slightly more of a closer, honestly.
I mean, when the team's down 22 points in the fourth quarter, what do you want him to close on? That's not his
No, well,
fault.
that's oh yeah, no, I'm not blaming him for San Fran.
Well, I don't necessarily just mean San Fran, but I just mean as a whole in the playoffs, we haven't really been a defensively steady team. And the whole cliche is defense win championships. I think that is
Fair
so
enough.
not. I don't even know if that's true anymore. I've always been an offensive minded guy, but of course I'm going to be. I love quarterbacks. I've got Aaron Rodgers. Why wouldn't I be an offensive minded guy? Well, so we already know. I've got Green Bay going to the Super Bowl. You have the Bucks, but we both have the Ravens, I think. What makes the Ravens such an electric team to watch when it comes to that postseason that they're going to make that kind of jump that they couldn't make last year to get to the big game?
So I think actually it's funny. When I was thinking out everything, I was I was imagining, yeah, man, the Ravens they had that week off. They took the week off. They came out. They looked flat in the first half to me. And so now that I don't have them winning the division, I don't even have to worry about them having that problem. They're gonna stay electric, hopefully.
All right, so here's back to the Aaron Rodgers stuff. I just actually pulled up the numbers because I'm salty and I wanted to bring it up. And this does not count last year. In 7 playoff losses, not 8, but in 7. In 2009, the defense gave up 45 points. In 2011, the defense gave up 37 points. In 2012, the defense gave up 45 points. And 2013, the game was tied at 20, never got the ball again. 2014, oh, God, I'm not talking about that. At 2015, tied a game at 20, never got the ball again. 2016, defense gave up 44 points. 20 or whatever, or 2019, defense gave up 38 points. Uh, a great quarterback can only do so much. And I know that's a completely biased stat. And what
Well,
makes me
so
oh, go
I,
ahead, go ahead.
I'll just say this. I'm not blaming him because yeah, those are hard numbers to overcome. But I feel like I don't know. I've seen Brady in some shootouts, and like he'll find a way to score. Yeah, defense scores 45. I mean, if they give up 45, maybe that sometimes is one thing, but
I mean,
45
yeah,
that's a tough one. But 35 to I don't know. I see Brady in some shootouts when he
especially with
has
the weapons he has now. Um, the last time we saw him with great weapons like this, didn't Brady go undefeated in the regular season?
to.
Now, if that happens, I know I'm never going to hear the end of it. And it honestly makes me not even want to go back to Florida. Not at all. But if they lose to Aaron Rodgers, I will never shut up. Never shut up. And honestly, Brady and Rodgers, I think they've only played like 3 times against each other. I think Brady's 2-1. It might be 1-1, but I'm pretty sure they've played 3 times and Brady's 2-1. Um, so which is an interesting thing. But back to the Ravens. Back to the Ravens. So I quit my bias here. I get nervous facing the Ravens in the Super Bowl if I'm the Packers because, like we just stated, issues with the run. Now, if you're looking at this from my perspective, and I'll give you my Bucks perspective after, but if you're looking at this from a Packers, if you're thinking
Right.
that Green Bay is going in there against the Ravens, do we have a chance in hell in winning that game? Because that would be the first running quarterback we see. Well, in the postseason, if the Niners don't get well, Niners don't run their quarterback, but you get what I mean.
Right. Hmm. Unless they face the Seahawks in the postseason. Oh, but you don't have them in there. So okay, so fair
Seahawks aren't real.
enough. And so I guess that makes sense why you picked the Titans so that Green Bay could win it.
I picked the Ravens to beat the Titans. I have the
Oh.
Titans beating the Chiefs.
So does that mean you have the Ravens winning the Super Bowl?
I have the Ravens in the Super Bowl. Of course, I'm not picking them against Green Bay to win. I can't. I can't.
Oh my
Once we
goodness.
now hold on. Once
This
we
is the
get
funniest
into
thing.
the season, once we get into the season, I didn't. I actually I didn't even pick Green Bay in the NFC Championship, and that's my team. Um, once I start to see stuff, my bias goes away when the season starts. But right now, I've got no real reason other than statistics,
What about
which
Kansas City? Kansas City could go, and wouldn't you rather play them?
yeah,
Because
I would rather play them. I just don't think we're going to.
very bold, very bold.
And honestly, Kansas City's so freaking fast. I might not want to play them either. You know what? I don't even want to play an AFC team. Can I just play an NFC team twice? Well, I want to give you my Bucks perspective, and I want to tell you, like, I want to get your opinion on it. Like, I think it's the Ravens are in the Super Bowl. I think we can agree, like, that's kind of our AFC thing. Um, but having the Bucks go, I don't see them having problems scoring the ball, or scoring the ball, scoring touchdowns and
Mhm.
so such like that. Like with Godwin, and of course Brady, and I can't remember the other receiver. Like I do this all the time.
Yeah, they got Gronk too.
Oh, and
Little
Gronk.
red
Can't
zone
forget Gronk.
option.
How did I forget Gronk? Man, I hate the Bucks. I'm done. No. So like, I don't see them having trouble scoring. Do you think that defensively they would have any issues? Because they're like you said, they're not going to be turning the
No, I
ball
like
over as
their
much.
defense, and I like the way that Tom Brady, if he has to, will run the ball and like they'll. I think he's going to be so much more responsible with the football than
100%.
Jameis Winston could ever have dreamed about being.
Well, that's not
That
that's not difficult though.
then that the defense like is going to look like. I honestly think this Tampa Bay defense is going to look like Saxonville defense with Tom Brady playing
Sorry. Ooh.
quarterback.
Man,
And let
I
me just
that was so much fun. Go ahead. Go ahead.
we Mike Evans
Thank you.
is who you missed.
Ugh. I always and it's and that's no. This is no disrespect to Mike Evans or Godwin, like or Gronk. I'm just an idiot and I forget things. That's
And OJ Howard, the other
man,
tight
whatever.
end.
I don't
So
care about
let's
that.
not. He's
Uh,
us. You don't think he's a stud?
I don't think it's really gonna matter on that team with Gronk there. If Gronk is even like Gronk can play 8 games this season,
Brady.
and I'm more
Let
afraid
me,
of Gronk.
as someone that's watched a lot of Brady, let me tell you a little something that Brady used to love. When he had Gronk and Aaron Hernandez,
Oh, you run those 2 tight end sets.
remember those days?
I try not to, honestly.
Yeah, yeah.
I drink to forget, Brandon. Come on. You're the worst co-host ever. I'm done. I'm done with this pocket. No, I everything, and it's the thing is, everything you say is absolutely right here. Like, I know I can make jokes and I can be a smartass about it and be like, that's not how it is. For the most part, everything you say is backed up with proof, with years of
Yeah.
proof. And I know my bias gets in the way. So I understand, like, realistically, anybody listening to this is probably like, Curtis is on whatever drug he can find. Like, which is not true. But I guess
No,
if it was,
you
that
know what the
explains it.
problem is? You know what the problem is?
What's that?
Is that Green Bay's close enough to the Super Bowl that you can justifiably pick them because you can root for your team. My problem is the Jags are so far away from the Super Bowl that I have no choice but to be objective.
Ah, and
Like
I would have.
last year,
Go ahead, go ahead.
when the season started, I was so tempted. I ended up not doing it. I ended up picking the Patriots to go out of the division, but I had them playing the Jags.
Oh, I had the Jags winning that division. I mean,
I
early
was
season.
so wrong.
But
But of
that's
course,
not your
you
fault.
can't really take into account that Nick Foles is going to get hurt and everything.
On
So,
on that on the first game, like no, like
and it was against Kansas City. Ah, that would have been such a good game if we'd have won that game. To know that we beat the Super Bowl winning team would have that season would have gone so different. But well
well, no, I kind of want to stick on the Jags for a minute. I know we're doing. I think everybody already knows I've got Green Bay winning the Super Bowl because I'm a biased, evil human being. But you have the Bucks winning the Super Bowl. Like, I don't think there's any more to kind of discuss in that kind of aspect. I do want to stick with the Jags for a minute because
okay.
I'm a little bit nostalgic. I actually watched a Calais Campbell interview this morning, so that's kind of part of the reason. And plus, you're bringing it up. That Saxonville team, living in a football city when that football team is excelling,
Mm-hmm.
an
So
entirely
fun.
different monster. I mean, I grew up in small towns. I moved a lot when I was a kid. No town I ever lived in had a football team. It was they might have been bigger cities, but that's not Los Angeles kind of cities. So when I moved to Jacksonville and I get a team like the Jags, and then all of a sudden I think the 2017 season. Yes, the 2017 season, they're just spectacular and amazing to watch. When you have a good football team in a good city or in a city, it changes everything for the city. How do you like?
Yeah, it was so fun.
I know it's not really a football question there, but can you kind of put it into a perspective as to how living in a big football city when that football team is firing, what it does?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, for me especially too. Like, yeah, Sunday night is party, and one thing that was hilarious is that you could just kind of pretty much go into any public setting and just yell
Oh yeah,
Duval, and everyone would basically join you.
you
That's
would hear
kind of
it somewhere.
cool. Yeah, depending on like where you're at. I mean, if you're at a sports bar,
Oof, that's all you're hearing.
everybody's on your side. They're joining in.
And of course, I adopted the Jags as my AFC team because that's where I call home. Um, and just watching how electric the city is, watching a very very good football team which got robbed, completely got robbed. I know that's
I know.
a
So
sore spot
sad.
for a lot of Jags fans, and it's a sore spot for me because if the Jags go to the
Yeah,
Super Bowl at all, there the entire city just explodes. Just I don't even think COVID happens. All right, that. All right, maybe not that far, but
yeah. So even when Tom Brady doesn't get it done, Belichick paid the refs.
I mean,
I'm just kidding.
that's
Even when he can't get it done, he magically makes. Uh,
I mean, deflate gate
yeah.
for sure. No,
What what's the word I'm looking for? He friggin' manifests a bad call.
he's like, oh my gosh, did you see that guy go down? It's like, no. Well, I've got a Benjamin that says otherwise. So it's going to take about 50 of them. Done. Yeah, he was down. Shit. No, I can't explain it to people enough because a lot of my friends, they're football fans, but they didn't grow up in big cities. Just like myself, they know. But when you're at a bar, or I remember riding my bike down First Street there in Jacks Beach, and it was right after the Steelers had lost. I'm riding down, just randomly riding down the road, and I felt I could hear Duval like for 30 blocks, just anywhere. And I would say it too because a little bit intoxicated allegedly, and it's
Yeah,
a
it's fun.
ridiculous time. And the Jacksonville needs the Jags to be good. I know this is a little bit of an off tangent, but Jacksonville needs the Jags to be good, and when they are good, and I'm sure you can attest to this as a Jags fan, of course, it's just crazy. It's just it's a different thing.
It's so
Now
fun.
I have to put you on the
And
spot.
it's funny
Oh, go
that
ahead.
you said that. It's funny that you said like, oh yeah, you're from like small town or whatever. Because you could be from a big city like me in Miami and still never see a good football team when I was growing up, at least.
That's true. I didn't. You know what? I didn't even think about that. Like, and I
So,
don't mean it in a negative way so much
no,
as
no, I wish. I mean, I think they went to the playoffs like a couple times when I was growing up.
that's just it changes. I feel like people wake up happier, and I have no real data to prove this at
We
all.
we have no research to back this.
No real research, but I feel like, and obviously being in the hospitality industry, service industry and stuff like that, I you see a different side of people when it comes to things like that. So they're only, of course, when their team's winning and they're pounding their fifth Rumpelman shot in 5 minutes. Like, oh yeah, they're going to be in a great mood when the team's winning. Now, if the team is losing, however, oh shit, like, oh god, it's a different story. People get very, and rightfully so. I mean, I get mad when Green Bay screws up. See the NFC Championship, for example, or the draft. I have to mention it. I have to do it. I just can't help it. Now, I don't. I wasn't gonna put you on the spot about the top 10 receivers that kind of came out in Madden, but I was really curious to where I don't know how much tape you might have seen of Devontae Adams, if any at all. It's obviously it's not your forte. I think he got like a 92, or no, it was a 94 overall. Is that sitting about right? The top three were your typical Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins, and Julio Jones. One, two, three. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it sounds right.
I mean, easy peasy, right? And putting Devontae down there. Now, what's really interesting when it comes to a lot of the receivers and things like that is you have speed and hands, and of course size matters a little bit. Allegedly, some women say they don't, and I appreciate that. Um, or they're just calling me short and lying to me about it. But is there a receiver that you think you would, when it came to Evans or Godwin, would you take a different receiver in their place, or are you completely content with having those two guys going? Not that they're
I'm
bad
content.
receivers, obviously.
Yeah, I'm content with them because they're so close to the top. They're so close to the top of the chart in terms of top receivers that the fact that they've been playing together, I like their kind of style and coordination with Brady too.
I mean, they're going to be sick. And of course, Gronk is going to take a little bit of the pressure off them, so their numbers just kind of pop up.
I actually see OJ Howard getting probably more touches than Gronk, but I see Gronk getting a lot of big touches. So some third downs, some goal line catches, but I don't see Gronk getting the majority of the touches. Where I see OJ Howard getting more touches between the tight ends.
Is Godwin a top 10 receiver?
Yeah.
Not according to my list in front of me. I'll run through it with you real quick. And this is obviously, for the record, I'm just throwing this. I am surprising the crap out of him at this. We kind of briefly talked about it before the cast, but I didn't give him any names because I'm a salty
Well, I
panda.
usually I usually hate on some Madden ratings, so
And you're a big Madden guy too. I think a lot of people underestimate that because we actually had a great conversation off cast about this kind of stuff. And it's a lot of fun, and we have some stuff behind the scenes. I'm not, I know this is a little bit of a tangent, and I might be teasing, but Brandon and I have talked about some stuff on the scene, behind the scenes here that y'all would highly enjoy, I think. And if not, damn it. All right, so we'll go with the top 10 here. Michael Thomas, 99. DeAndre Hopkins, 98. Julio Jones, 97. Tyreek Hill at number 4, 96 overall. Devontae Adams, 94. Amari Cooper at number 6, 93
oh
overall.
yeah,
Stephon Diggs, 92, number 7 in overall. Mike Evans, number 8, 92 overall. Mr. Odell Beckham sitting at number 9 with a 91, and then Keenan Allen at number 10 with a 91 overall.
I do like Keenan Allen. Okay, so here's my thing: I pull Amari out of there.
You sleeping on
Uh,
Amari?
Sleeping on Amari. No,
I,
I've just seen enough. I've seen enough of the drops. To me, he's not
ooh,
mentally tough enough.
that's a
It's
good point.
it's. He also was shut down by New England's defense. He basically had to get like yanked. Same thing. He doesn't show up for any road games. So what? You get him for half the games. You get him for your home games, and on any road game, I mean, literally like 70% of his production was in home games.
I think, man, honestly, you had it, man. I hate when you're right. Um, Damn. I was trying to think of like a devil's advocate argument, but that's a really good point. I have watched Amari Cooper. I don't fear him like I fear Stephon Diggs more than I fear Amari Cooper.
Yeah, because to me, I have Evans and Godwin in the top 10.
2,000-yard receivers on one team playing with Jameis Winston. The guy doesn't even know what team he's throwing to half the time. They got to go figure it out.
But the thing is, I also think that he's like pretty good playmaker for as much as I don't give him credit for taking care of the ball.
So I have a Saints question for you. And this is the only reason I'm thinking about this is I heard it the other day, and we're talking about top 10 receivers, and of course we have to bring up Jameis Winston, Mr. 30 for 30 himself. Um, is there are we is there an issue if Breeze does not start all the games like last year? He missed what 4 or 5. Bridgewater came in, played well because Sean Payton and Bridgewater. I think we're both cool with Bridgewater. We enjoy him. Is there? Are you thinking maybe the Saints don't? Do they drop some games with Winston if that's the case, or how do you feel about if Winston has to come in and play 4 games?
4 games,
Sure.
depending on who they play against.
Oh,
I
that's a big
see him
point too. Yeah.
going. I see him going 3-1 or 2-2.
Is that more of is that a testament to where he's playing and the system, or is that a testament to he finally got surgery and can on his eyes and knows who he's throwing to?
Maybe like a little bit of both. I like the team more so. I like the team. I think that I say it's pretty even. Like I think he could be just as dominant in terms of production with the Saints roster or their offense. And I think if he buttons it up a little bit, which sometimes you just have an off year and you're due to button it up. So, do I think he has if like ratio wise, do I think he has as many turnovers? No. Do I think he'll do relatively similar on offense? Yeah.
Another similar question to that, good follow up there. If Winston comes in the first 2 games, hypothetically throws 3 picks a game, are you pulling him for Hill? Even if, let's say you win you go 1-1 in those 2 games, but he's got 6 total picks in 2 games. Do you pull him for Taysom Hill, or do you keep
It
Winston?
depends on who we lost to, the way that we lost, when the picks happened. Like, if their receiver drops, I'm much more lenient on that because, like I said, I don't even think that interception should go to quarterbacks when it's off a drop.
True.
So it just kind of depends on how the interceptions turn out. But yeah, I think Taysom Hill, uh, if if it were possible, I think some teams would consider him to actually be their starter if he were
Taysom
ever to get that.
or
Yeah,
Winston?
Taysom Hill.
I would. Man. Yeah. I have mixed feelings about that. Do you have it? Do you want to go ahead?
To tell you what teams that would be,
Yes,
or the teams that I would consider it for.
please.
Um, so yeah, I would say in Washington, who knows what they're called.
Yeah, whatever their team name is. But yeah,
I
okay.
I would give him if I would give him a shot to play in Washington. Um, let's see who else. That's pretty much.
I think Oakland,
I didn't,
or well, the Vegas Raiders.
yep, I would give him a shot to play there too. Even Denver.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, why not? That's a good point. Honestly, even Cleveland, because I don't think it matters who you put down there as long as you put that uniform on, you're trash. Which is so not fair. Which is so not fair, because obviously I really like Odell Beckham. I was hoping Green Bay would make a run at him, which is another Cleveland tangent. Do you want to talk
And it's
about?
funny
Go
too
ahead.
because I would say the Chargers as well, but only because I have no faith in Herbert. I didn't particularly think he was like the guy that should be starting necessarily. If I was the Chargers, I'd have been cool keeping Rivers and having Justin like Herbert learn for a year.
I mean,
So I would take Taysom over Herbert as well.
yeah, I'm not. So I think we actually both are in the same boat on Justin Herbert. I'm not really sure. Honestly, we have
I'm just
no
not
clue
sold.
what LA is doing. Uh, and that's nothing really against them. And I like Tyrod Taylor. I really do. I liked him at the Bills. But do I just because I like him, it does not mean I think the guy is going to succeed. And that is no detriment to him. I just don't know how I feel about the team in general. I don't even know how if it's ran well. Uh,
Yeah, I have no faith in Tyrod Taylor either.
so we got
Yeah,
about another about 13 minutes. Do you want to talk about running backs real quick?
sure.
All right. So top 10 running backs overall. I'll go through. I'm gonna go 1 through 10. And if you hear
Okay.
something you don't like, just smack. Well, don't smack me.
Yeah,
I'm
I'll do
very
that sigh
sad.
that I did when you mentioned Amari Cooper.
Fair. All right. Number one,
I don't.
99
I,
over. Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that this season he will not be the best receiver on that team.
I am a terrible football fan right now because I cannot name another receiver on that roster. Well, I hate the
Cowboys,
Cowboys, but
CD.
oh snap! Yeah, well, yeah. All right. Well, damn it. See, again, I wish I can track back to the earlier in the podcast and say I hate when you're right and just throw that in there one more time. Like I'm gonna just clip it and from now on I'm just gonna play it. I'm gonna have it on a stream deck or something. Or hopefully I'll never have to use it because you'll never be right. But knowing my luck, that's not gonna happen. Um, so 1 through 10 here. You got Christian McCaffrey sitting at number 99, number one overall. Makes sense. Derrick Henry
Does
at number.
it?
Go ahead.
I was saying, does it? I have Derrick Henry at number one.
Only reason I don't is because McCaffrey's production last year on a team that was awful. He did. I mean, they don't win any games if he gets hurt. That team's bad. Well, they were bad, but McCaffrey definitely carried him. I think I'm okay with the 99 overall. He does so much. I do think at number two they do have Derrick Henry. 93 overall is certainly not high enough. That is to me so disrespectful to put him that far. And I know it's only 6 imaginary points to put him behind Christian McCaffrey, but come on.
So okay, so to me, the 99 for Christian McCaffrey sounds like him being overrated, just because like, what are they saying? He's the best running back to ever play? I'm confused. Can you get better than 99? Can you get 100 rating?
I don't think anyone has.
So Yeah, like is that even an option? Like if you were creating a player, could you give them a 100 overall rating? I'm
I don't
assuming
think so.
probably. So
Um,
then, like, because to me it sounds like they're saying a that he's better than Derrick Henry, which I do not think is the
that's
case. Like I
definitely
think
what they're saying.
if you put Henry on the Panthers, I think they would have done better than they do
Oof, I don't
with McCaffrey.
know. No, I because there's. Mm, I have to look up. I would have to look up Henry's reception numbers, but they can't nearly be what McCaffrey's are. I
Oh
mean,
well, yeah, but that's fine. I mean, there's different ways to play the running back position, and the Derrick Henry style is
one
punish
dimensional.
you.
That's the problem.
It's not. It's
It
not though.
is
Like,
though. He can. I mean, he can. I mean, he did throw. Actually, he threw a touchdown pass last year.
yeah. No, let's. Man, this Henry disrespect. And I thought you said you liked Henry.
I like. Well, I just said I like. I really do like Henry,
Phew.
but I said that his 93 overall was not high enough. I totally said that. I just Christian McCaffrey had such a good year. I mean, the guy should have been MVP. I know Lamar Jackson got MVP, and that's rightfully so. But I mean, God, the Panthers were trash, and without McCaffrey, they're not winning. They might win 2 games. No, I not even.
16 touchdowns for Derrick Henry. You don't think? You don't think the Carolina Panthers could use that? Could use
Okay,
that? No?
all right.
Who is he tied with? Let's see here. Who also had
You know
16
who
touchdowns?
had more than he did, correct? And we haven't even got to his name, and I'm gonna show you some disrespect there. But I don't want to say it yet. Can we move? Let's move on a little bit. Let's move on. We'll get there. We'll get there. At number 3, they have Nick Chubb at 92 overall. Ezekiel Elliott, number 4, he's 92 overall. Mr. Saquon Barkley sitting at number 5 at 91 overall. Dalvin Cook, number 6, 91 overall. Aaron Jones, 90 overall, sitting at number 7. If you want to talk about disrespect, do I have a lecture for literally anyone but you? Because you're
Yeah,
gonna
'cause I'd
prove
be
me
like,
wrong, and I'm gonna get mad. Putting Dalvin Cook up there, the guy. I saw that stat, and I know I said it on a previous podcast. Dalvin Cook, or excuse me, Aaron Jones has more touchdowns last season than Dalvin Cook did in his career. Does in his career. Career. What? But we're gonna put him at number 7. He's Aaron Jones is number 3 in my opinion. You can argue McCaffrey, Henry, Jones, and you can put Henry over Jones, and I honestly wouldn't feel disrespected in the slightest. I get it. Um, but number 7 and putting Dalvin Cook ahead of him, and that's not counting. I know he's a Viking, so that automatically makes me, I guess, maybe semi-biased. But if we're just going statistically, why is Dalvin Cook even in the top 10?
oh, I have Dalvin Cook in the top 10.
I probably do too, but definitely not at number 6. Definitely not ahead of Aaron Jones. I mean,
Right.
well,
It's not
do
ahead
you
of
put him
Aaron
ahead of Aaron
Jones.
Jones?
No.
Do you
I
put?
almost. I think I have Aaron Jones at 3.
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely put him over Elliott and Barkley just based on
Yeah. Oh
last
yeah.
season. That's not
Definitely.
to say that Elliott won't have a great season and could change it, or
Because
Saquon Barkley, who's amazing too.
I put Dalvin Cook over Saquon.
Nah, can't do it. I don't even think that's my bias there. I just, and that's to me that's
Is
the eye
Mostert
to
top 10?
not on this. Not on this. Yeah, you got Joe Mixon at number 8, 89 overall. Josh Jacobs, number 9, 88 overall. Mr. Alvin Kamara sitting at number 10 at 88 overall as well.
I don't have a
First of all,
problem with Kamara being in there. I
oh,
like
Kamara
Kamara in
should
there.
be.
Yeah, I feel like he should be a
He's
better
top
rated
5,
one.
I think.
Not in my top 5, but
No?
he's up there for sure.
Are you putting. Okay, so do you put
I would go. I
Saquon
would
over
go.
Kamara?
No,
I,
actually. Okay, hold on.
okay.
Let's see. I would go Derrick Henry, then Christian McCaffrey, then Aaron Jones,
Sure.
then Zeke, then Dalvin. Yeah, and then
You're
at
going to
6.
put. Whoa, 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 whoa,
Oh,
whoa,
I'm
whoa,
sorry.
whoa.
I missed Nick Chubb. I'm sorry. I missed Nick Chubb. I forgot he was all the way down here on my non-touchdowns. Okay, yeah. So we're going
Calling out Nick Chubb.
8
Now,
touchdowns, but no, I said it could be overrated in
I mean, to his credit, he
some
plays for the
settings last
Browns.
year.
So, like, that's not his fault.
And the Browns, they struggled from all cylinders last year. So yeah, so Derrick Henry,
Every year.
Christian McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Zeke, Dalvin Cook, Kamara.
No, you can't put Dalvin Cook ahead of Kamara. You just, of course. Why do you have Kamara behind Dalvin Cook?
He just doesn't have that many touchdowns with
All right,
Steelers.
when you have Drew Brees and Michael Thomas,
Yeah, but Drew Brees throws to running backs.
he does. But when you have Michael Thomas, who led the league in receptions again,
No, I still think you should like kind of give the ball to your running backs in the red zone. I don't know. I'm
but he
surprised
doesn't
he
get, but
doesn't
he
have.
doesn't get the ball. So of course he's not going to get touchdowns. I don't think Dalvin Cook is better than Kamara. I definitely do have Dalvin Cook probably in the top 10, like all my whining aside.
Well,
Um,
Dalvin Cook can really punch it in.
can he?
He let's see here on his. He had 13 touchdowns.
I just, that's a tough one. Honestly, I didn't even think about Kamara until I saw that, and I saw Cook, and it just made me salty. So I immediately got salty about it. I'm just not high on Dalvin Cook. I feel like he's a little bit overrated. Now, if he comes out, and I mean, there's a very good chance he comes out and has a amazing season, because I'm probably willing to put money on Kirk Cousins falling off because I do not think he's for real. I never thought he was for real. The numbers proved he wasn't for real, and he's going to continue to probably prove that point. That means Dalvin Cook will probably have to carry the team a little bit more, so that's a little bit interesting. I think Joe Mixon sitting at number 8 is really cool. Good for I have no issue with Joe Mixon. I think he's a great running back. I thought that was a nice little.
So how do you think him and Burrow are going to do together?
I mean, it has to go well, right? Adrian Green's probably going to play on that franchise tag, and I don't know why he was so salty about signing it. Because, dude, you're not getting a giant deal from anybody else when you haven't played in 2 seasons. But when AJ Green is healthy, he's a top 5 receiver. When
So do you
he's healthy.
think that they could be a possible dark horse this year?
If you put a gun to my head and made me choose a dark horse, it would be between the Colts and the Bengals, probably.
It's so funny you say that because I had the Bengals on my list and I crossed them out to put the Steelers.
I just think the Steelers were broken in half last season, and now they're going to have a healthy Big Ben, and
Yeah, I
he
think
does
so
look
too.
healthy, and he's just going to stiff arm literally every single person who tries to tackle him. I know that's not the case. I don't really care for the Steelers, so it's like if I'm wrong there, oh no, what a
I
shame.
hate to I hate to beat a dead horse here, but I can't find Kamara in any of these top rushing stats. Now he's in some of the receiving stats, but I don't see him leading anything in rushing.
I just think based on his team, it is a very pass first oriented team. Not that Sean Payton won't run. I mean, he has. I mean, they actually perfected the dual running back stuff back when they had Bush and I almost said Kamara, but that's not it. McAllister. Um Bush and McAllister back in the day, and that was a fun team to watch. Fun team. Super fun to play with on Madden, for the record. Dual running backs out of the backfield who can like outrun. We got one who can literally just pound through whatever, and one that can outrun everybody. Great, wonderful. Or punt return too. I I mean, you might actually be right. I just don't put my faith in rookies who are going into a team that was terrible.
He barely led Latavius Murray in yards. Now, granted, he only played 14 games. Murray played 16, but he had almost 800 yards, and Murray had 637.
I mean, so
He
if
was
Kamara gets two
and
more
and
games,
and yeah, and he was third in the team in receiving behind Thomas and Cook. So he's definitely a top option, but
Cook's
I
their
don't
tight
know
end, right?
that.
Is that Jared Cook? Like Green Bay Packer scored
Yeah,
their.
tight end.
Yeah. I
Oh
love
yeah,
Jared Cook. I've got. No, I mean, after he caught that throw that Rodgers threw against the Cowboys, Jared Cook's always gonna have my heart. Plus, I hate the
but Kamara
Cowboys.
only has 5 touchdowns. So to me, I think you should have more than 5 touchdowns if you're going to be.
A top
I
10.
still I have him in my top 10, but I just think I think you might be putting him too high or not understanding why I have him so low. He's probably like right at 10. I would put him right at 10.
I just feel like Dalvin Cook is just rated way too high. We can't go statistically or just based on touchdowns. And I know you also mentioned rushing yards and receiving yards. To your credit, but to me, having Dalvin Cook ahead of Aaron Jones or Kamara is just weird. When Dalvin Cook really hasn't been all that spectacular. Maybe that's too strong.
He has more yards. He had more yards in the same amount of games, 14. He had 1,000,
Why did they
over a
not play
thousand.
the other two games? Were they sat or injured? I honestly don't know.
I don't remember. I had him in fantasy.
Oh god, that reminds me. Fantasy football is going to be a lot of fun this year. It's just going to be me probably being biased. I do it every year. I'll draft Rodgers and then I'll screw myself and draft everybody else.
Yeah, I don't know. The more I look in here, I see pretty good numbers for Cook, for averaging 4.5 a carry. Um, Not that's exactly what Zeke did.
Is it? Damn.
Yeah, Zeke had slightly more yards, but he had an extra. But Dalvin Cook had an extra touchdown. So I look at like mirroring statistics with
Okay, that's
Zeke.
fair. I mean, that's completely fair. Honestly, that's a good. I wish I had that Stream Deck thing ready to go.
And Zeke played 16 games, and Cook only played 14. That's how I guess he had the extra couple hundred yards there.
Which okay, that makes a lot of it. It does make a lot of
But
sense.
that makes me then look at Dalvin Cook's 13 touchdowns and say, man, every game he basically had a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean that's averaging one touchdown a game almost. At that point, that's a really
Almost.
good way to look at it. I, I don't. I'm just not as high on Dalvin Cook. I'm just not, especially when he's not even the best running back in his division.
And I got Leonard Fournette in there too.
Man, that isn't. That's a conversation we kind of had off cast a little bit, talking about Leonard Fournette and things like that. It,
I'd like to see him get a little more yards on his average carry because he was only at 4.3 yards a
but
carry,
man, that
but
line
he
is
broke it down.
bad.
Yeah, we're bad,
Your line is
unfortunately.
so bad.
And I don't really hold the 3 touchdowns against him that much because we didn't really have a lot of opportunities to score
No.
touchdowns. Not from close, where we would like presumably hand him the ball.
Okay, not in the red zone or the 10, something under that, more or less.
And of course, again, no fumbles. He's never fumbles, almost ever.
Yeah, he definitely takes care of the ball. I'm very glad you brought up Fournette. I know we're pushing the hour mark, but I'm very glad you brought up Fournette. That is a name that is definitely not getting any respect, especially in this top 10. Would you put who are you kicking out of the top? Oh, probably Kamara then, right? Who are you
No, I
kicking out
got
of the top 10?
Kamara. No, I got Kamara. Let's go over the bottom five.
So we had Cook at 6, Jones at 7, Mixon at 8, Jacobs at 9, and then Kamara at 10. But you also
Yeah, I
had
would get rid.
Barkley at 5 and Chubb at
Yeah,
3.
I would get rid of Jacobs.
I'm okay with that. I think that's probably the best call. Um, and Fournette had one of my favorite moments ever. I believe he was a rookie at the time, and he'd wave that guy to come on and hit him, and he was like, I thought that was so cool as a rookie for him to be like, all right, let's go, because that's the kind of energy, and we talked about the whole city of Jacksonville needing that kind of stuff. That's the kind of energy you want from your running back, from any player.
I hate seeing my guys take hits. I
Oh,
just I look at every hit on a running back and I'm like, that's one play off your lifespan. I don't know. I
they
like
can't they can't east to
running
west.
backs.
There are
I'm
different
just
running
like,
backs too.
yeah, like I see Zeke like always tries to run through people. Is like, why don't you try running around him every once in a while? Let's give you an extra year or two. Let's make it so you can play past 30. So I don't know. I'm like, I like it, but I don't love it.
I mean, I love a fast running back. Obviously I love an east to west, a fast running back. But there are times you need somebody like a Fournette or somebody like a Marshawn Lynch, somebody who will just run you over because nobody wants to tackle a guy that wants to be hit when it's the fourth quarter and he's just constantly running. That's what made Derrick Henry so dangerous.
In the preseason, when Fournette was first drafted, after the preseason, he said that running in the NFL was easy. You remember that? And it was so funny though, because you look at his yards, and he didn't even average like 4 yards a carry. I don't think he averaged like 3.7 yards a carry, which I guess you could technically, if you go for it on fourth, or actually 3 point. My math isn't great. I guess maybe that does come out to over.
I mean, I'm an English major. You're asking the wrong guy.
And I don't remember what the actual number was.
But all right, we'll go ahead and wrap this up here. We appreciate you guys listening to us. This was just to recap. We did our Super Bowl stuff, all of our playoff brackets, talking about running backs. I mean we had a lot of fun here talking about all that stuff. And next week we'll hopefully bring you guys a lot of fun. Um, Thank you so much for watching. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please subscribe. I hate to be that guy, but I'm gonna be that guy. Please
And
subscribe.
smash the like button.
Hit that like button. Turn notifications on. We're trying to put this up at the same time, or well, I'm trying to put this up at the same time on 4 o'clock every single time we can. Just we thank you for the support. We'll talk to you guys soon. And have a wonderful weekend. Have a great weekend, guys.